Sean "Diddy" Combs, the music mogul and founder of Bad Boy Records, has found himself in the midst of a legal and personal storm as he awaits sentencing in a high-profile case. Currently held at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, following his arrest in September 2024, Combs has made headlines with claims of inhumane prison conditions, including food infested with maggots and frequent lockdowns that exacerbate the challenges of incarceration. In a letter filed by his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, on August 3, Combs sought bail ahead of his October 3 sentencing, arguing that the conditions at MDC constitute exceptional circumstances that justify his release. However, Judge Arun Subramanian denied the request, citing Combs as a risk of flight or danger, leaving the 54-year-old to remain in custody as his legal battles continue. Combs' legal troubles began with his arrest on charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution, accusations that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. The trial, which commenced in May 2025 and concluded after 8 weeks, resulted in a partial conviction. Combs was found guilty of 2 counts of transporting individuals for prostitution but was acquitted of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The outcome was a mixed result for Combs, who has maintained his innocence throughout the proceedings, but the guilty verdict on the prostitution charges has kept him behind bars as he awaits sentencing. The case has drawn intense scrutiny, not only for its serious allegations but also for its implications for Combs' legacy as a music icon. In his bid for bail, Combs' attorney painted a grim picture of life at MDC, describing conditions that he argued were unfit for any inmate, let alone a high-profile figure like Combs. The letter detailed food that was expired or infested with maggots, a claim that Agnifilo described as not an uncommon experience for prisoners at the facility. The poor quality of the food, combined with ongoing lockdowns that restrict inmates' access to basic amenities, was presented as evidence of inhumane treatment. Agnifilo argued that these conditions, coupled with the emotional and physical toll of incarceration, warranted Combs' release on bail until his sentencing. The allegations of maggot-infested food and substandard conditions at MDC have sparked broader questions about the state of the U.S. prison system, particularly for high-profile inmates. Combs, whose wealth and influence have defined his career, now finds himself in an environment where basic necessities are reportedly compromised. The description of the food as infested paints a vivid and disturbing picture, highlighting the challenges of maintaining dignity and health in a facility known for its overcrowding and understaffing. For Combs, these conditions are a stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle he once led, adding to the public fascination with his case. Judge Subramanian's decision to deny bail reflects the seriousness of the charges against Combs and the court's concerns about his potential to flee or pose a danger to the community. The ruling underscores the legal system's cautious approach to high-profile defendants, particularly those facing charges related to serious crimes. Despite the partial acquittal, the guilty verdict on the prostitution charges carries significant consequences, and Combs' legal team is likely preparing for a challenging sentencing hearing. The denial of bail has kept the focus on Combs' current circumstances, with the claims of inhumane conditions adding a new layer to the narrative. Combs' time at MDC has been marked by isolation and scrutiny, with the music mogul navigating a legal landscape that has upended his public image. Once celebrated for his contributions to hip-hop and his entrepreneurial ventures, Combs now faces a future clouded by legal consequences and public controversy. The allegations of sex trafficking and racketeering, even if not fully upheld in court, have damaged his reputation, prompting discussions about accountability and the power dynamics within the entertainment industry. For Combs, the fight for bail is not just about freedom but about reclaiming some semblance of control in a situation that has spiraled beyond his influence. The conditions at MDC, as described by Agnifilo, are part of a broader conversation about prison reform and the treatment of inmates. Reports of maggot-infested food and frequent lockdowns are not unique to Combs' experience but reflect systemic issues that affect countless others in the U.S. prison system. For a figure like Combs, whose wealth and status have historically shielded him from such realities, the experience is a jarring reminder of the disparities between his former life and his current reality. The public's reaction to his claims has been mixed, with some expressing sympathy for his plight and others arguing that he is facing the consequences of his actions. Combs' legal team is likely exploring all avenues to secure a favorable outcome at his sentencing, including appealing to public sentiment about the conditions at MDC. The letter filed by Agnifilo is a strategic move, designed to highlight the challenges of incarceration and position Combs as a victim of an unjust system. However, the court's focus on his potential risk to the community suggests that these arguments have not yet swayed the judge. As the sentencing date approaches, Combs' team will need to balance their defense strategy with the broader narrative surrounding his case, which continues to captivate audiences. The partial conviction has left Combs in a precarious position, with the prostitution charges carrying significant penalties. His time at MDC, while temporary, has become a focal point of his legal saga, with the claims of inhumane conditions adding a layer of complexity. For Combs, the fight for bail is not just about escaping the reported horrors of MDC but about asserting his narrative in a case that has already reshaped his public image. The allegations of maggot-infested food and lockdowns serve as a stark reminder of the challenges he faces, both legally and personally. As Combs awaits his sentencing, the public remains divided on his case. Supporters argue that the conditions at MDC are unacceptable and that Combs, regardless of his legal troubles, deserves humane treatment. Critics, however, see his complaints as an attempt to deflect from the serious charges he faces, pointing to the evidence presented in court. The case has sparked broader discussions about the intersection of fame, accountability, and justice, with Combs' experience at MDC serving as a microcosm of larger systemic issues. For now, Combs remains at MDC, navigating the challenges of incarceration while his legal team prepares for the next phase of the case. The denial of bail has kept him in the spotlight, with the claims of inhumane conditions adding fuel to an already intense narrative. As the October 3rd sentencing approaches, Combs' story continues to unfold, offering a complex portrait of a man whose legacy is now intertwined with legal battles and public scrutiny. Whether his claims about prison conditions will influence the court's decision remains to be seen, but they have undoubtedly amplified the conversation around his case and the broader issues it represents.